Hello and welcome to, well, Carlin's Worlds. Yeah, that should work. I'm a wanderer, a tinkerer, sometimes a nomad, a military veteran. I do things differently. There will be tinkering. I have a motorcycle, a truck, and a school bus. I live off-grid, so there will be some solar, batteries, inverters, and maybe even some wind. It blows. And that's all I can fit into about 30 seconds. Oh, and please, if you like any of this, it would be really awesome if you could subscribe and click that notify bell. Drop a comment if you have any questions or ideas. Share, like, comment, subscribe, notify. Oh, and Patreon if you're really an awesome kind of person. Cool. On with the show already. Okay, version 1.0 worked good enough to prove that it would work, but then it fell apart. Yeah, go figure. So what I've got here is some leftover scraps of 2x4 stud that I'm making a front wheel holder. So I can park the bike into it and it'll keep the bike from tipping over while I lift the back. Alright. Proof of concept, it worked well enough to at least not drop the bike. Because I used scrap, it was a lot of split ends, everything fell apart. Not well executed, not a bad idea. And I took advantage of the fact that the windbreak was anchored to the ground pretty good. So this long vertical post here goes down a couple of feet, so it's actually fairly solid. But everything else was kind of sketch. Large assortment of bus seats. For anybody that's doing a bus conversion, don't throw your seats away. This gives you a nice pile of scrap metal that you can maybe do projects with. So you pick through your pile and you pick this more than I need, but I just figured I'd grab a couple and then I'd decide which one I liked. I was originally going to do this with one hoop on each side, and I thought about leaving the seat back on. I'm going to start off and I'm going to cut here, cut there, and just kind of go from that and see how it goes. I've got a metal cutting skill saw, essentially, which is that. That makes some really nice cuts. The problem is it's awkward to get into something like this. I'm going to use it if I can. I also got a couple of grinders, so I usually have one with a grinding wheel, one with a cutoff wheel, and then an assortment of flap discs for cleanup after. Alright, let the mayhem begin. And the other last thing while I'm thinking of it, putting the earplugs in, I've got the inverter turned on. That's enough to run the grinders. So I'm running solar panels, charging batteries. I've got a 1,000-watt inverter, and I've got plenty of power there to run the grinders. So I'm not going to need the generator until I get to actually welding. I've got a little MIG welder, which I got at Northern Tools. It's the yellow one. That'll be on later. I do need to run the generator for that, and I'm actually running flux core, so I guess I shouldn't call it a MIG welder. I find outside it's not really worth running shielding gas because the gas blows away in the wind. So that's been my experience. I've done both. MIG is beautiful, it's nice and clean, but you don't have any advantage to it if the gas blows away. So that's where we are now. This is not going to be high precision work by any stretch of the imagination. My goal is to have my fingers at the end of the day. There will be no plans released for this because unless you happen to have the same style of bus seats I do, none of this would matter anyway. What did I come up with? This is about 36 inches, 35 inches. It's about 20 something that way. I'm going to go to 24 inches, which is somewhere right about where that bend is. The seat back isn't vertical. When this was sitting down, it leans back a little bit. The legs aren't exactly straight. So you just kind of pick a piece that looks about right and go from there. I bought this when I was going to make a metal camper, and then I never ended up doing that project. kind of fun. Should have seen that coming. That's way more fun than the grinder. Alright, set up for now. I'm just going to leave the generator there. It's a pretty level spot, not exactly in the way. It's a clutch welder. I got it at Northern Tools. I think this was a factory refurbed one. I don't remember what I paid for it anymore. Seems like a good little welder, wire feed welder. And I'm just going to tack these real quick. So I'm literally going to start the generator, do a couple quick tacks, shut it off again, and then that way I don't have to hear it. It's almost not worth wearing the good gloves. Alright, good enough for now. If I'm off by an inch, I don't really worry too much on this. I just want to try one side of it before I duplicate it. Now, when you think about it, it doesn't have to support a 400-pound motorcycle. You can keep a bike from tipping over with just your fingers. So you don't need it to be, you know, super strong. So I've got way more metal up front than I actually do. put a little bit of pressure on it. I'm going to do double bracing down. I think that'll make it okay. So, okay, it doesn't look good. No apologies. It looks quite bad actually. However, I mean, this has got to be some of the worst welding I've done. And I'm not a long-term welder, but I'm using scraps. I'm using hand tools. You know, I don't got a bench grinder. I don't got a frickin' bandsaw. Maybe someday. So at the moment, the side stand is not down. The back tire is severely flat, so this wouldn't stand very well by itself anyway. It's holding the bike up pretty good. Moves around a bit. I got a little bit of slop. But a lot of the movement is just the thing moving itself. So if I put my foot on it, it gets better. There's still some flex, but it's not so bad. I've got just enough room. Lighting right now is too harsh. It's hard to see a little bit, but that's the front brake disc rotor in between. I run it in right until the forks hit. And it kind of works out good because I put, let me get on the other side, you can maybe see it better. From the other side, yeah, that maybe shows up better. This piece here was a cross member I added. And then the top piece goes across, kind of can see it. So you got a hoop, that was the back of the seat, then I added another piece. When the tire rolls over, it drops in, and it pretty much, it's touching here at about the same time. Actually, no, we're not even quite getting to the front. Okay, but we're hitting the back pipe, which is working like a chalk. So you roll over and then it drops in. So the bike doesn't tend to want to go anywhere, it just stays there. Okay, now we're in. Just let go. Consider the fact that I'm not using good metal and my welding technique isn't very good. Unless I break probably 2 welds, I'll have a failure. If I break 1, I'll probably see it before it drops. But okay, now if I stand on the corner to where it doesn't move, because before the whole thing is moving. Okay, you roll it in, boom, let go. You're done. Now that's the whole thing moving. It's not really flexing, it's just moving. So if I step on the corner again, I'm pushing it pretty good. So if I could anchor this, I'd be set. So that's basically it though, is the hard part of doing maintenance, especially by yourself. You know, if you had a center stand, great. That makes life a lot easier. However, the KLR is kind of a pain in the ass to get it on a center stand, because you need a center stand with enough lift, and it's, you know, 400, 450 pounds. You got to get it up and then over. It's a pretty big center stand. And you're kind of fighting against the suspension. It lifts and then drops again. All right. So this by myself is pretty easy to get into place. I'm going to just point out what I would consider critical dimensions. So if you want to build one of these yourself, don't make it out of bus seat parts. This is just what I got. All right. But look at, okay, here's a couple gotchas. This is what I learned from the first one made out of wood, because my cross piece was a 2x4 vertically. Okay. You need enough gap between the tire and the fender. That's a lot of this scuffing here is from hitting that. All right. So don't encroach on this space here. I could probably, I mean, like, okay, for instance, if you see that black outline, that's where the tire is. You don't need all of this out here. You could totally eliminate that. It was just kind of a convenient piece because I was using bus seats, all right? So figure out how far your tire goes forward. The critical part is touching the top of the tire here. I actually considered coming back a little bit, so cutting a diagonal here to match the forks is an idea. You could put a pad here and then come out and then brace it, you know, to leave this open would be an idea. I like the idea that I'm coming across this piece, so I roll over that and drop down. That gives the bike a tendency not to roll back. You got to lift it up and out of that, so that works out really well. Also, I'm in sand, all right? If you were on a hard surface, this would be probably a simpler thing to work with. But you can see it's all dug in here pretty good. That's actually working to my advantage because it's just going to stay there now. You know, after it rains a few times, that'll just kind of lock itself down. I'm probably not even level. Doesn't really matter. Okay, but this kind of, it holds the bike for me. Now I can bring my jack stand, or my floor jack, get under the suspension, lift the back of the bike up. The bike's not going anywhere. I could wrap a cargo strap around this pipe down here, right? And then come up and tie it to there to pull it forward. I don't think I need to. Another thing that is an idea that, again, I don't think I really need to, but I could run a strap from the handlebars down, you know, just to kind of lock it in place. I'm kind of just thinking I'm going to leave it like this, though. You know, it's got a little bit of movement. Once I put the jack underneath the back, it's going to be supported by the back, and that's just to keep it from going too far. I still think I'm going to keep an eye on it, you know, put a hand on it when I'm coming up. The next thing, and I'm still kind of playing with this idea, I want to make a block or a box or something that'll go underneath the bike here. Now, keep in mind, my tire's flat, so I got to watch that as far as my dimensions. But what I want, put a jack underneath the rear suspension point. You can see this kind of lighting is working against us here. This point right here, put the jack there, lift it up, the whole bike comes up, then put something underneath the frame. I have put jack stands basically underneath where the foot pegs go, is a good spot. But my floor jack is big enough that is kind of an awkward. It works, but it's awkward. I can also put a jack stand back here by the axle. Again, it's a bit awkward. Depends what you're working on. Ugly, but it works. Feel free to make your own, make a better one, send me pictures, link me if you get a video. I had a hand on the bike, but I wasn't really holding it. It basically holds itself. It is going crooked, but I'm not even level where the ground is, so I could level that lift a little more. I'd feel better if it didn't move as much, but a lot of that is just sliding in the dirt. All right. Now that's higher than I'd ever need it to be. For instance, I can't drain the oil like that because the drain plug is in the back and it wouldn't drain very good. So I think it would actually make more sense to drain the oil before you even lift the bike. So put the bike in the front shock to hold it steady. Reach down, drain the oil, put the cap or the plug back in, then do whatever else you're going to do. You know, so you're not going to put it on the lift to do an oil change as far as, you know, jacking it up like that. Now that it's up here though, a couple other things I was looking at. When the tire was flat, the floor jack will go underneath the suspension point. So that works out well. But if we put the camera, it's kind of in line with the foot peg right here. You see the foot peg here, it's in the shadow, but the wheel of the jack is pretty much in the way. I'm going to build a little work platform that the bike will sit on top of and have the feet extend out past or kind of in the line of the foot pegs. Then when I put the jack in there, I should be able to get the jack where I want it and have the feet not be in the way. Alright. So I'm going to kind of keep my hand on the bike just so I don't drop it. Loosen the jack and let it down. Nothing to it. From there, I'm kind of lifting the front of the bike up too. Alright, so I'm going to put myself straight in and see if that makes any difference. Okay, there I'm on the jack pad, or on the bottom of the suspension. I'm thinking on this jack, if I took these side handles off, I'd be a lot better off. They get in the way, at least on that one side. So I don't really use them anyway. I'm not currently involved in NASCAR racing, so I don't need a racing jack per se. This is just convenient because I owned it for the truck. Now we get tension. Front of the bike lifts up a little bit. It's basically, that's a balance wheel. The nice thing about supporting the front wheel like that, basically the whole bike, if the front wheel didn't move, the whole bike could pivot around that as a fulcrum. Nice thing about working with a bike like this, not a lot of chrome. If you do completely bugger it up and just drop it off a jack, yeah, you'd probably break something, but it's not, you didn't just drop a $40,000 Harley. Still, it's a good saw. I think it's worth the trouble. I'm not going to show you how close this is. But I will say that I can probably fill that gap. This is one of those tools that I was super excited to buy, and then it's been a little bit disappointing. Mostly just disappointing because I haven't really used it as much as I wanted to. So anyway, dry cut. If you've ever used a metal cutting chop saw, usually they're an abrasive wheel, kind of like the cutoff wheel on a grinder. They wear down. These do not. Well, they eventually wear out, but it's a carbide. After you use your abrasive cutting wheel for a while, they get smaller and smaller. Pretty soon you can't even cut through your material. I suspect I just kicked my inverter. Ah! You just don't get the effect. This makes such a clean cut. You really don't even have to finish it. You're still gonna have to get the paint off, but it's such a flat cut. It's just ready to melt. stop the bus. Have to watch out for that, I guess. I don't know if that shows up or not, but that's a piece of steel that was stuck to my arm. It's tinted blue, but it gets pretty hot. Just cuts off really nice shavings. Should be a good ground. Just get all extra shit out of the way here. That'll make me feel better. Reserve the right to hit it with a hammer later. Homer Simpson once said, "Trying is the first step in failure." Terrible way to live your life, though. One pull, ready? Oh yeah. Switch on. I buy the gloves, I might as well wear them, right? Since I will forget, and that's probably hot still, let's put the gloves on. Feels good. Yeah. Bike is resting on here, which is just balanced on top of this. And I'm just missing, I don't know if you can see where my finger is. The oil plug is right there. All right. So that feels pretty solid there. This is a 16-inch long piece of 2x4. I marked the center. Here to here is about 8 inches. But I'm basically only supporting it on there. Future improvements. Knowing I'm not using the front of this at all. An idea might be to make a single post with diagonals coming down. That might be good enough. And there's not going to be a lot of front and back movement on here because I'm using it with the bike supported in the front already. So this is a pretty good stopping point. Now what I've got tires and tubes coming and also a rear shock coming. What I could see doing, and I've actually got some threaded rod. I got some big stuff. I could put a threaded rod piece here and actually weld nuts into that such that I could screw it up or down and then move it front or back or whatever. The ones that you can buy that have the jack built in, the pad can be slid back and forth and then tightened into position. It's kind of a nice addition. That could be a future upgrade. Maybe the next time I get bored, I'll grind this all down and make it look pretty. This one came out pretty good. I might do that. The front wheel chock, no, that's just an abomination. We'll use it, but we won't talk about it anymore. Okay, I'm going to say that's done for now. Tired. Alright, thanks for watching. Hopefully you got something useful out of that. If nothing else, you can be amused at my stupidity. I'm alright with that. Just click like. Heck, I don't care. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. Subscribing makes a big difference in my world because when I get to 1,000, I actually get a nickel. I'm okay with that. If you're going to subscribe, hit that little notify bell. That's YouTube tell you the next time I get around to uploading something. I make a lot of videos. It just takes a while to get them put up sometimes. So, you know, I may go a couple weeks and you think I just dropped off the planet, and then I turn around and upload 10. So click notify and you'll know when I get there. In the meantime, yeah, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, notify, Patreon. Hey, there you go. Throw me some money, man. I could use some new steel. That'd be all right. Thanks a lot. Later. Well, that's about it. Thank you so much for watching. Yeah, that should work. Cool. I do things differently. Oh, and please, if you like any of this, it would be really awesome if you could subscribe and click that notify bell. Drop a comment if you have any questions or ideas. Share, like, comment, subscribe, notify. Oh, and Patreon if you're really an awesome kind of person. Thank you so much for watching.